And we are back with a midweek poker time at Ocean's 11.
Midweek, baby.
And I'm joined by my friend Mikey.
Let's go.
We're gonna be playing some 2-3 today, so hit the intro.
Yeah, I mean, the nice thing is that I just don't like till, you know. Alright, we got the flush. Okay, he's got a set of eights. We got him. Hold.
Tell him he's got a lot of class, and it's all low.
Welcome to the Brantzen Poker Vlog. We have a brand new episode, brand new mic, and a brand new shot of Mikey walking in the casino. If you like his face, too bad, as we don't sit at the same table, and this is the last you'll see of him. First hand on the vlog, we pick up ace-3 of clubs in the hijack. The Lojack limps, and we open it to $15. The cutoff calls, and the Lojack calls as well. The flop comes 4-5-9 with 2 hearts. The Lojack checks, and I decide to c-bet to $30. My intention was to represent an overpair like tens, jacks, or queens, and hopefully get both players to fold. And if they did call, I at least have a gut shot and an ace high. In retrospect, I should have had a little more equity since I was in a multi-way pot, but anyways, the cutoff goes all in for $69. The Lojack folds, and we have to put in $39 more to potentially win a pot of $181. This means our hand has to win about 22% of the time or more for us to be profitable. Well, I call and hope best case scenario she has a draw. Could not be further from the truth as she flips over pocket aces. Okay guys, ready for a miracle suck out? 3, 2, 1, just kidding. Turn king, river 3. Lose a pot, great start to the day. I take it like a champ, wipe away the tears, and reload an extra $100 to my stack, and we get ace-10 in the Lojack. I open to $12, and the button in big blind call. The flop comes out, ace-5-6 rainbow, and we hit top pair. The big blind checks, and we decide to check as well. Ace-10 isn't a hand I expect to get 3 streets of value from, and the board looks pretty unthreatening, so I'll allow my opponents to see a turn, maybe catch up a little bit. The turn comes another 6. So now anyone holding a 6 beats our hand. Our situation begins to look a bit more serious when the big blind bets $30. I didn't check top pair on the flop so I could fold on the turn, so I call and the button folds. The river is a jack and the big blind checks to us. I choose to check it back because I don't think I'll get value out of many hands worse than mine. Any ace that is lower than ours chops now that the river's a jack, any higher ace wins, and any 6 wins. So if I bet and they call, we'll either split the pot or they'll end up just taking more of my lunch money. Our opponent shows us queen-9 offsuit for a random bluff, and I take down a small pot. Our next hand, we see jack-king suited of hearts in the hijack. I open to $12 and the big blind defends. Classic open versus big blind heads-up situation. The flop comes jack, 3-5, 2 diamonds. We have top pair, good kicker. The big blind checks, and I bet $16. Roughly 3/4 of the pot, due to flush draw and straight draw possibilities. He calls. The turn comes the 6 of diamonds, and the big blind checks. Now that the flush and straights are possible, we check back for pot control. The river is the 2 of hearts, and when the big blind checks again, he most likely doesn't have the flush or straight. Trying to get value out of a pocket pair or weaker jack, we bet $25, he calls, we show our hand, and he mucks. Easy game, easy life. A little bit later, we see pocket 9s on the big blind. The under the gun, Lojack, cutoff, and small blind limp, and we decide to bump it up to $25. Out of position, we're typically raising to larger sizings. The Lojack and cutoff call, and the flop comes 5-6-8 with 2 hearts. This is a great board for us as we have an overpair and a gut shot straight draw. We bet $50, choosing a 2/3 pot sizing. We can't have anyone see a free turn. I'd literally have to be Neo to dodge a potentially bad card.
Trinity! Help!
A 4 or 9 could give an easy straight, a heart could give a flush, and a 10, jack, queen, king, or ace could give a pair higher than mine. Anyway, they both fold to my bet, and I take down an easy pot. If you like seeing premium cards, smash that like button, because we're about to get them in back-to-back-to-back hands. We kick it off with the holy grail of starting hands, pocket aces, and under the gun. We put in our standard open of $12 and the hijack and big blind call. The flop comes out 4 king 9, 2 clubs. The big blind checks, and I bet $20. The hijack folds, and the big blind calls. The turn comes a 4, pairing the board. When the big blind checks, I bet $45 to get value out of a king, and to charge any draw to see another card. The big blind calls, and the river comes the 3 of clubs, making the flush possible. The big blind decides to lead out for $75. I call, and he shows pocket eights that he tried to turn into a bluff. I show my aces, and we scoop the pot. Before we even have time to reset the camera, we look down at ace king in the big blind. The under the gun +1 limps, and the small blind calls. I've heard raising with ace king is quite the hip and happening move these days, so I make it $15. Both players call, and the flop comes out 3, 9, 6, all clubs. Check to us, and with the ace of clubs in our hand, we have the nut flush draw and 2 overs. We choose to bet $15. The under the gun +1 calls, and only has about $64 behind in his stack. The small blind folds, and the turn is an offsuit 10. I think the best decision given his short stack would be to go all in here, to possibly fold out a pair, but we end up checking instead. He goes all in, I call, the river comes out the 8 of clubs, and I turn over my cards quickly to be nice, since I pretty much have the nuts. He says, and flicks his cards away in disgust. I win the pot, and the snowball keeps rolling. Okay, so I guess it's not back to back to back, but 2 hands later, we pick up ace queen of hearts on the button. The Lojack opens to a huge sizing of $25, and all my alarm bells start ringing. Because of this, I choose to just flat and see a flop. The flop comes out 9, ace, deuce, with 2 diamonds. He continues with his large sizing and bets $50. I'm wary of the fact he could have ace king here, but I call, and the turn comes the 6 of hearts, giving us a nut flush draw to go along with our top pair. He checks, and with 2 flush draws on the board, I would think he'd continue firing if he had ace king, so now I think he might have a mid pair or draw or a weak ace. I bet $80 on the turn, and he calls. The river comes the queen of diamonds, improving my hand to 2 pair, but also making the flush possible. He checks, showing weakness, and I think of a sizing that a weak ace or mid pair might think about calling. I eventually decide on betting $120, and he calls with queen 9 offsuit. He flopped mid pair, then stuck around, and we both rivered 2 pair. I picked up the pot, but probably could have gotten a little more out of him had I bet more on the river. Either way, he shouldn't be playing this hand pre-flop in this position, so I make a little mental note on the player and move on. I'd like to take a moment to shout out
Kevin from Hawaii.
Kevin was the nicest player on the table, super supportive of the vlog, and he flies all the way out to California just so he can play some poker. Talk about having love for the game.
Oh, bro.
Fly safe, Kevin. We'll see you next time.
I will remember you.
Oh, bro.
Jumping back into it, we get ace king off in the Lojack. I was cleaning up from a previous hand, so I wasn't able to get it on the camera. There's a straddle, so we opened to $20. The cutoff jams for $100 and says,
Half a small pair.
okay, man, well, I still got a call. The board runs out queen 9, 6, jack, ace. He tables pocket 3s, and we win it with a pair of aces. Alright, chip update, time to get some food. I eat a delicious chicken sandwich, return to the table, and the next big hand I play, I get dealt pocket 9s in the hijack. I open at $12, the button calls, and then the small blind says,
Alright, I'll give you $10.
When he said this, I honestly felt that he had a pretty mediocre hand that he wasn't supposed to play. I put that in my mental bank, and then the big blind calls as well. The board came out queen 9, 7 with 2 spades. Flopping middle set, I believe I have the effective nuts here. If any of my opponents had pocket queens, they should have 3-bet me pre-flop. The small blind, who said he'd give me $10, donk leads for $40. The big blind folds and the action's on me. I pause for a while to think whether I should raise or call. When someone leads out of position against a pre-flop raiser in a multi-way pot, they usually have something they want to protect that is vulnerable to future cards. The more connected the board is, the better their hand typically is. I honestly don't think he has pocket 7s here, as I really believed his hand was weaker than that pre-flop, so it left me thinking that he could either have 2 pair, most likely queen 7 since I'm holding 2 9s, or possibly even just a queen. I don't think he has a flush draw because I think he would rather just wait for me to bet that and call to see a turn. For these reasons, I decided to just call. I think he has a bunch of pretty weak holdings that wouldn't call my raise, and this way I disguise the strength of my hand as well. The button folds, and the turn comes out an offsuit 2. He checks, and now that the strength of my hand is hidden, I bet $100. He goes all in for around $350, and we snap call.
It was at this moment that he knew. He f***ed up.
The river is a 6, he says he has a queen, and then he mucks his cards. We take down a huge pot. After that, we end up playing for another hour or so short-handed. We win some small hands, and we lose some small hands. Ultimately, we decide to rack up and book a nice win. All right, we just finished our 2-3 session at Ocean's 11. We were in for 300, added on for another 100, and cashed out for $1,465, giving us a positive of $1,065. Sweet. Thank you guys so much for watching. I can't believe the support this vlog has already gotten. As always, like, comment, and subscribe. This is Brantzen, and I'll see you next time.